Hey Clashers, Ash Lane here, coming at you today with a war recap. This was a really special war. I was with Heisenberglars for a Patreon war recap, and boy did things not look very great in the beginning, and we had an epic come-from-behind victory. It wasn't that we were doing poorly in the beginning, it's more that this war started when it was late night most of our time, most US time. So what we did was we were down by like 60 stars with the at the 12-hour mark. Then we had an epic comeback, and we ended up winning by a large amount. So Heisenberglars, a really good clan. We ended up winning, like I said, a decisive 24-point victory, 24-star victory. And this is one of those weird wars where they were decent attackers. Well, their Town Hall 9s and Town Hall 8s were decent attackers. And what happened is all their Town Hall 9s showed trophy bases. So at first I was like, ah, crap, trophy bases, that's no fun to watch recaps of. But then I thought to myself, you know what? I bet a large portion of my audience actually still runs into trophy bases. Maybe not every war, but you know, some people for whatever reason just haven't picked up on the whole anti-3-star thing. So let's go ahead and hop into first yours truly replay, because I really botched this 3-star. I should have been able to 3-star this Town Hall 11 here, and you know, things are looking pretty good, and I make one big epic failure, ended up being a high percentage 2-star instead. So let's go ahead and do a little review of what went wrong. So you've seen me 3-star this base before. It's A, really popular base, and it's B, a really easy base to 3-star. What you do is you start with the Queen Walk on the opposite side. Sometimes the bases are inverse, so you start in the north, you start in the south. Either way, you start with your Queen Walk from the area towards the Eagle Artillery, further away from the Heroes and Inferno Towers in Town Hall, from the weak side of the base, essentially. And you let your Queen do her thing. You give her some time. You don't activate the Eagle Artillery. Notice I only dropped one golem. I do have two. Only dropped one because I wanted that Eagle Artillery down first. As soon as she's locked onto the Eagle Artillery and it's almost dead, then I'll drop my second golem. Right now, I'm dropping the wizards to create a funnel. Here comes the golem. Eagle Artillery gets one shot off. Not a big deal. Timed that a little bit poorly. Then I start dropping the rest of my troops. Barbarian King. I drop the Grand Warden. Drop the wizards. The witches. Now, one thing on my drop order there, I should have dropped the Grand Warden last. Should have dropped the witches first. Kind of botched that order. Whatever. Life goes on here, but here's the big issue. Look at my Barbarian King. Look at his life, and look at how fast he goes down. He was locked on by that single target. I was too busy paying attention to my queen or whatever, and I totally screwed it up. I should have just raged that Barbarian King much earlier, and then immediately hit the Grand Warden's Eternal Tome ability, and I would have been golden. It would have been a 3-star locked down. Unfortunately, that did not happen. Things are still looking alright at this point. My witches are still alive. My wizards are still alive. My queen's doing her thing, making her way around the southern half of the base. The witches are kind of starting to fizzle out a little bit here, but my queen's still at 75% health, soon to be full health. My healers are still alive. My Grand Warden's still at full health, and I'm still sitting on the Royal Cloak ability. So at this point, I'm thinking, crap, I could have totally had this. My queen's not going to die, that's for sure. It's just a matter of time. And had my Barbarian King actually been raged, it would have been a guaranteed 3-star. Instead, it's an 88% 2-star. Womp womp on my part. Luckily, we didn't need that extra star, as you guys can see. But now I wanted to get into a little bit of how to handle these Town Hall 9 trophy bases. Now, you might think, trophy bases, these are really easy. But I gotta tell you, after a long time of just hitting anti-3-stars, there's a couple main tactical differences when you're hitting these trophy bases versus the anti-3-star war bases. So we're going to watch a couple Goho replays and then a Go La Loon replay at Town Hall 9. So this first one's going to be the Shattered Goho here, and there's going to be one major difference. Obviously, on these trophy bases, you're just attacking into the queen. Every time, you're starting your attack right into the queen, because more often than not, the queen's going to be very vulnerable. Half the time, these bases don't even have strategically placed double giant bombs, so that's not necessarily going to be the top of your worry on the priority list, but there's one major difference. I recommend surgical deployment of hogs against, almost all anti-3-star bases. Here, against a trophy base, you're dealing with a heavy defensive concentration, usually in the center of the base. You can see 4 Teslas all bunched together around that town hall, which obviously has high hit points as well. So you're dealing with more of a traditional attack. So instead of the surgical deployment on the hogs, I actually prefer just clumping them up more. You can see JD used all his hogs, all coming in from the north. Now, when I say surgical, you guys probably already know, but for those who don't, a surgical deployment is when you scatter in your hogs in like a clockwise or counterclockwise formation, and you do that based on the number of point defenses in the area where you're deploying your hogs, versus the trophy base where you're basically just kind of spamming your hogs. It's a little bit easier to hit these bases, but some people don't identify that difference when they're hitting a trophy base versus an anti-3-star base. I see some people just stick to their guns, whatever they're used to doing in terms of deployment method, they just stick with it. That's actually a mistake. You need to be versatile. You need to be able to adjust depending on the type of base you're hitting here. So Dominican here, X7, he's going to do the same type of thing, only he's going to use a stoned Goho. That's 3 golems versus 2. Now, you know, it really ends up being your own personal preference, whether you use shattered or stoned. You can use the trade-off either in wizards or in hogs as far as deployment numbers, the troop capacity. So using 3 golems actually gives you a little bit more time on the first phase of the attack with your kill squad. So you can be patient here. You can let your golems go into town, let your wizards do a lot of damage, really create that funnel. That's one of the huge benefits. Well, there's 2 huge benefits of using 3 golems, right? And there's obviously a downside. So the benefits are you have more time on the kill squad on the first phase of your attack, right? You have plenty more time. You can actually delay the hog deployment a little bit later. As you can see here with Dominican, you can wait because you have that extra, 1,000 plus hit points of available, which equals extra time. So that's one benefit. Another benefit is obviously you can actually wait longer before engaging the base. So you can just let the golems pound away at one of those perimeter exterior walls for a while, and then let your wizards do their thing under minimal defensive attention. And yet again here, you can see Dominican goes ahead, deploys all his hogs together because it's a trophy base. You still want to identify where the double giant bombs are. You don't want to just, hold your finger on your device and deploy all the hogs in one huge clump. But what I say is you can spread them out in, maybe a small line or a little clump covering about 90 degrees of the base versus trickling them in a clockwise or counterclockwise fashion. So I think we've discussed enough the differences between trophy and anti-3-star bases in terms of deployment on Goho. Now let's go ahead and switch off to a Gola Loon attack. So I have one written down here. Who was it? I believe it was this attack here. Yes, it was. So this is UKR2T. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. I hope I didn't butcher it too bad, but I'm just going to list the letters and numbers. So there we go. Here we go. Another shattered entry here. Sort of towards the Archer Queen, but more importantly, the goal is here. Obviously, it kind of remains the same. Even if you're hitting an anti-3-star base or a trophy base, you want to take out 2 air defenses with the kill squad. So 2 golems going to provide plenty of cover. Those 2 air defenses are really, really accessible for UKR. So UKR is going to go ahead and engage the base, take down the queen. As soon as the queen is down and the 2 air defenses are down, then he's going to immediately start with the La Lune portion of the raid. So the second phase of the attack here. So being patient right now, making sure he gets that queen killed. Don't want that queen to drop her attention. And then here come the hounds from the south, from the northwest. So the first 2 hounds at the first air defense. This is kind of old school Gola Loon, where you're sending in 2 hounds to the first air defense, 1 hound to the second air defense, and then just slowly trickling in, slowly dotting in those balloons in back of the hound cover. And then you just wait a little bit, and then you save a few balloons for the back end. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. It's a really easy attack if you have your fundamentals down, like UKR obviously does. So just holding off, and then trickling in the rest of the balloons from the south. Get some back end there because the initial balloons that you drop have a tendency to clump up, so it's very important to make sure that you're holding out for some back end balloons. On this attack per se, not incredibly important to have a bunch of back-end balloons, but look at that archer tower that's still standing. If that was a wizard tower, for example, you definitely want to have a balloon or two at hand to come in from the east, take out that wizard tower from the opposite side. But you can see, very nice attack here, tons of puppies left on the board, few balloons, gonna clean up, got the 3-star, another 3-star. We 3-starred every single base, Town Hall 9 base, Town Hall 8 base, very nice. And let's go ahead and watch one more Go-Ho here. This time with lower level heroes and only level 2 golems. Again, we're going to go ahead and start out with the 2 golems. Plenty of time here, so he tries to trickle in a wall breaker, and then he's going to deploy the wizards really quickly there. Now, the wizard's a little bit clumped up for my liking, but either way, Kane makes it work here, because since he already created that hole in the base, he's going to allow most of his troops to funnel to the center, but you can see that because the deployment of the wizards was so clumped up, his king actually goes around the base. So that's one little thing he could do differently in the future, otherwise the attack is still executed just fine. Now this one is again, it's kind of a trophy base. It's kind of an anti-3-star base. At least on this base, the clan castle is unlurable in the center there, and the queen wasn't quite as accessible as some of the other bases. So he does a smart move here, and he kind of this is exactly what I was talking about on the hog deployment earlier, right? So he has most of his hogs all coming in from the northeast, but then he saves maybe about 8 or 10 or so hogs to come in from the southeast, and then they're kind of going to clump together and make their way through the base. So deploying the hogs this way, you obviously had the benefit of being able to tackle those high defensive areas that you wouldn't be able to do so if you surgically deployed your hogs, and you also are able to negotiate some of those giant bombs, the double giant bomb areas, by giving a little bit of a spread, but not an incredible surgical deployment. So guys, I hope you enjoyed those replays. Let me just go ahead and cover this war's, the log here on the war events log, and you can see, in the very beginning, it's all red. You can see it's we weren't doing much attacking. We had a few in there, but then boom, 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 about 40, 50 attacks in a row they had while we were sleeping. So we woke up to, I believe it was like a 70 to 20-ish wake up, and I was like, oh boy, this could be a tough war recap, but luckily it worked out for us. Heisenberglars, a great clan. Check them out. Definitely know what they're doing, have a concise strategic war plan, and certainly great attacks. So thanks for having me, guys. If you would like to support me on Patreon, go ahead and click the link. It's in the description below, and hope to see you guys there. Thanks again to everybody, and thanks for watching. Guys, as always, take care.
We don't play for fame, we don't play for cash. We just play for the glory and the clash of the ash.
Guys, before I let you go, be sure to check out 3-Star Vault. It's a huge aggregation of 3-star raids sorted by Town Hall level and strategy. Take care, guys.